I'm back with another Spider-Man video for you, but this time it's about the 2002 Spider-Man video game based on the original film from 2002. Starring just about everybody except for Kirsten Dunst, Tobey Maguire, Willem Dafoe, and no James Franco actually, I just thought of that. It was Josh Keaton, who actually went on to voice Spider-Man in the Spectacular series. This is a more fleshed out version of the original film, I suppose, if anything. Movie to video game adaptations were very common during the late 90s, early 2000s, and you don't really see that in video games anymore. One of the last ones I remember was the Amazing Spider-Man 2 video game. I didn't play that one, I played the previous one, and it was okay, I guess. And it's because I think video games that are adapted from movies, or whatever way you want to put it, they usually come out as craptastic. I heard it somewhere in another YouTuber's video on it. It's good for what it is, and Spider-Man 2, the video game based on the actual movie, that is probably the best one out of the bunch, at least the ones that I've played. This one has a really, really special place for me because of how it all started in my love for Spider-Man the character, coupled with the fact that I had just seen the original film not too long prior to that. But when my mom or my dad bought me this GameCube edition, I had a GameCube when I was a kid as well as an N64, and I played a little bit of that Spider-Man N64 game, and the Spider-Man 2 video game I think added even more to my Spider-Man experience overall in my youth, but this really means a lot to me in so many ways. I was actually playing this a few weeks ago. Some of you saw my Instagram stories. I had a huge wave of nostalgia when I was playing this. So many memories came back when I was playing this game. Trying to navigate the tunnels, fighting the Shocker, getting really scared and not having the nerve to go down there until several months later when I didn't play it for a while. A friend of mine at the time that I was going to school with decided to play the game that level and thought, oh yeah, you go zip in between the walls and the holes. That's easy. And because of that, my fear gradually went away, and I looked back on it thinking, Joe, what were you so worried about? It's not that scary. It's just kind of obnoxious, though, because the controls were kind of wonky, and even just one little slip out from behind the corner, Shocker will literally come right over and fire his shock blast down the track at you. There's a lot more that I could cover in this video, and hopefully it won't take too long, but I would like to introduce to you a friend of mine who's been following me for a few years. Hector has got some things to say about this game, so Hector, take it away.
Hey guys, hope you're all doing well and that you're enjoying Joe's review on the Spider-Man 2002 video game. My name is Hector. I'm a friend of Joe's. I've been friends with him for a few years. And I wanted to kind of come in here because I really wanted to talk about one of my favorite games of all time. Sorry. Spider-Man for the GameCube. This game is one of my favorite games of all time, along with Resident Evil and some other games here and there. Which... Dude, actually one of the reasons why I got into Spider-Man was actually because of the 2002 movie, which as you can see, I have a poster right there. That is one of my favorite movies of all time, and this is one of my favorite games of all time. And it was around the same time, and I played it. It was also one of the first games I played, actually, so, you know, it was kind of a fun little experience that I had. A lot of people talk about the other Spider-Man games, particularly the Spider-Man game for the PlayStation 4 and the original PlayStation game, which are amazing games, and those are also my favorite games ever. But a lot of people don't really talk about this game, weirdly. You know, it's mentioned here and there, but not as often as the other ones. And honestly, I find that unfortunate because that game, honestly, I don't know, there's just something about that game that really speaks to me, and even after playing that game 20 years later, the game still holds up incredibly well. The graphics at the time were very impressive, especially the cutscenes. The combat, while simple compared to the other games, was still satisfying. The music is iconic. The Green Goblin theme in particular, it is so good that when Green Goblin showed up in No Way Home, that was the music that was playing in my head when that happened, when he showed up. And also, the villains are a lot of fun to fight. Shocker is iconic. This is probably my favorite version of the character. Vulture, that was the first time I ever got to know that character, and he was also a lot of fun. Which, by the way, I have to mention this. Vulture and Shocker are both in Spider-Man Homecoming, and which is funny to me because I wonder if someone looked at that game and decided, hey, let's use those villains in the Homecoming movie. I don't know. Maybe that was just a coincidence. I don't know. But the fact that they did it, I don't know. That's a little... It's a little suspicious for me, to say the least. As I mentioned previously, you do fight Shocker and Vulture, but also you do get to see some other villains such as Scorpion, who also was in Spider-Man Homecoming, though he wasn't in his costume, but still I think it counts. And also you do see the inclusion of the Spider Slayers, which were a lot of fun to fight. Though, though speaking of the Spider Slayers, I love what Spider-Man says to them, calling them like, "Hey, Killbot 5000, how'd you like that?" Which I have to mention, the dialogue in this game is amazing. One of my favorite lines in the Spider-Man game is this: So you must be Quilt Man, Padded Pete, Mr. Triple Ply? Oh wait, I got it! The cushion." Oh my god, the line, oh my god, it's so funny. Actually, one thing I've heard a lot about is the fact that Tobey Maguire it doesn't really have the best voice acting in the game. And yeah, there are moments where it's a little weird, but honestly, I think part of it is really his delivery in the game. I just love his dialogue in the game, and even the way he delivers it, I actually find it quite endearing in a way. And of course, we cannot forget the amazing William Dafoe as the Green Goblin. He is so... You can tell he had a lot of fun in the recording booth. Oh my god, he was amazing in the game, though. Oh my god, he was a nightmare to deal with in the game. Particularly the way you fight him. Like, apparently your punches in the game had pretty much no effect on him, except on a few occasions. And... I'm getting PTSD from this. There's a mission where you have to disarm a bunch of bombs. Those bombs. Oh god, oh my god. I still remember playing through it. I think I died at least, last time I played it, I died at least, I think, 10 times, I think, while on that stupid level. God, I can't even play on like the highest difficulty. It's so... Again, you have to experience it to understand the hell that you're going to go through. It's insanity. It's just, seriously, this game just proves, along with No Way Home and the first Spider-Man movie, that Green Goblin, particularly William Dafoe's version, is beyond terrifying. He's an Avengers All threat, everyone, okay? Alright, well, I think I said what I had to say about the game. I love this game so much. I love that first game. I love the Spider-Man movie as well. I love the whole trilogy, by the way. I love what Sam Raimi has brought to the Spider-Man films, really. My god, those movies are amazing to me, and I love the games as well. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart to everyone that was involved in those movies and the games, I just want to say thank you so much. You made me experience something incredible, and you gave me a lot of great memories to look back on. So I just really want to say thank you. And also thank you, Joe, so much for letting me be a part of your video. Keep up the great work, and having me be a part of this video really means a lot to me. So again, thank you. And, especially considering what we're talking about today. So, yeah. And also, just for anyone, if you're interested, I do have a YouTube channel. Hopefully he'll leave a link in the description below. I talk about Marvel. I talk about some other stuff here and there. You can follow my shenanigans if you want to. All right. Well, also to you, Joe, hopefully the reviews turn out really well, and I cannot wait to see what you're going to bring to the table. So I'm really excited to see what you're going to do, man. I cannot wait. Well, all right. Well, just wanted to, hopefully you enjoyed my brief part here today. And, and guys, again, thank you. All right. Stay safe, guys. Bye. Oh, wait, before I go, I have to show us off really quick. Yeah, that's what I was wearing. So I had to show off because, but then again, I love Spider-Man quite a bit. Oh, here's, you can see. Whoops, sorry. See? Love Spider-Man a lot. So, all right, well, now I'm saying bye for real there. All right, again, thank you so much, Joe, and just wanted to say that. And I also thank you guys for watching my brief part here. All right, well, again, now we'll say goodbye for real. All right, stay safe, guys. Bye.
Thank you very much, Hector, for saying all that stuff. That really means a lot. It's really interesting to see how passionate somebody is for this game, because not too many people talk about this one. Obviously, the best Spider-Man games have been in recent years from 2018 onwards, but there's so many great things that I could talk about, and a lot of it is due to nostalgia. I think the game is really a lot of fun in its own ways, while also being a product of its time. This came out in 2002, not just the graphics, but the voice acting in particular sometimes. It's pretty noticeable. I've heard some people criticize Tobey Maguire's voice acting being really wooden and dull. As Hector said, yeah, it probably isn't the best in certain moments, and I would not disagree with that. I don't know if that was from the director's standpoint, or maybe it was just the one take that they thought sounded good on surface, but for the most part, I think he actually does a good job with the voice acting, and I think he definitely got much better as the video game series went along, and he has some really great quips in this game. A lot of people obviously don't like the fact that he doesn't quip as much in his movies, and I've stated my reasons why I think that's okay, but in this game in particular, he has some really, really great lines. Like this.
So you must be Quilt Man, Padded Pete, Mr. Triple Ply? Oh, I've got it. The cushion.
Or something like this.
These people wouldn't lift a finger to help you.
Yeah, well, since they can't fly or bend steel with their bare hands, I can't really blame them.
You're wasting your talents helping the pathetic worms of this city.
Oh, I get it. You're a disgruntled guidance counselor. Not only do I love the fact that they got the main actor Tobey Maguire to voice the character, since this is basically directed from the movie, but I love the fact that they got Willem Dafoe to voice the character, the Green Goblin, because his lines, I would say in some ways, are even better than what he had in the movies in some capacity. Because obviously you have a lot more leeway in a video game to say certain things, or like if you do certain actions in a game, you get the characters to say something that they probably wouldn't have said if you tried to breeze through it quickly. It's all, I guess, video game mechanics where if you get them to do a certain thing, then something else will happen, which I think is kind of a cool way to do it, and it's a freedom that video games have that movies don't, or television shows don't. Also, whoever's the voice actor for the Shocker, he was terrific, and I love all the levels that involve him. When you're trying to maneuver through the subway station in Grand Central, one of the levels you have to go through Grand Central Terminal to fight off the goons that are attacking the security guards and the civilians, and at one point you have to save this citizen who's completely oblivious to this pillar that's about to fall on his head because he's talking on his phone. Early generations of the populace being distracted by their own devices. And then later on, you have to fight the Vulture, climbing up his clock tower on the Lower East Side, because I guess the story plot in the game is that they both stole from this jewelry store that you see in an earlier cutscene, and you have to chase the Vulture over the city while he throws certain projectiles, his sharp feathers, at these billboards and these water towers on these rooftops. And you gotta stay really close to the Vulture, within a striking distance, and also watching yourself when he fires those feathers at you, because if he gets away from you, it's game over. And then the final confrontation you have with him is right above the Chrysler Building. For me, it was the top of the Chrysler Building. Empire State. It's a better view. That is a sweet view. On that note, I just remembered there is a little golden spider on the top of the spire of the Chrysler Building, but you gotta wait a while until the storm calms down in that level. Otherwise, if you get caught in that spire and you get struck by lightning, lights out. Those golden spiders that are sprinkled throughout some of the levels of the game, they add to your list of combos that you can use to fight your opponents. You have your basic punches and kicks, then you have like something like the field goal kick, where you punch someone twice, and the last move you throw in a kick, a flip kick, an uppercut, but you could also advance your webbing powers, like using your web gloves to inflict heavier damage on your opponents, the web dome that you use to explode and push your enemies away. And it helps to have the strategy guide in order to find them all so you can figure out their locations. In fact, let me show you something. This is not the original copy that I've had since I was a kid, but I found it on Amazon several years back. I get nostalgia looking through this book. The little tips that they give you in this game, here's one of the levels involving the Vulture. It's the Vulture escape level. But then there's also the character design in this game too, like some of the artwork. Take a look at this. Does this not look beautiful or what? Has like a biography for each character, like Spider-Man, the Shocker, the Vulture, Scorpion, who's really fun to play against, but really, really difficult because scorpions are natural predators of the spider. Kraven the Hunter. Now, I don't have an Xbox, so I never got to play that edition of the game, but I've seen the clips on YouTube. I would probably have a hard time trying to beat those, but the fact that they got Kraven in there, that's actually pretty neat. And I hope they do Kraven in the movies one day. If they're gonna make Spider-Man 4 with Tobey Maguire one of these days, go along with Kraven. I mean, that's one of the ideas that Sam Raimi was bouncing around, so why not? Green Goblin, Aunt May, who does not appear in this game, although Uncle Ben does. MJ, not voiced by Kirsten Dunst, but doesn't really matter either way. And Jonah Jameson, who doesn't appear in this game either. He appears in the later 2 games. Also got the storyboards in here too that the game designers were going over, such as the cutscenes involving the characters and how the certain areas would look. Like here's one of Spider-Man and Shocker's confrontation. Oh, and here's some of the area layouts for the levels that you end up fighting in, like the chasing down the Green Goblin when he kidnaps Mary Jane, and the Brooklyn Bridge when they fight off at the bridge. If you look really closely, you can see those golden spider symbols right there. I believe that's where it tells you these golden spiders are. That's just another thing on my nostalgia plate for this game. It shows you just how big of a nerd I really am, but hey, I can't help it sometimes. There's also other levels that I think are really fun in their own ways, while at the same time very challenging. These stealth missions involving the breaking into Oscorp and stopping the chemical process that Norman Osborn is working on. I remember that level when I was a kid being freaking difficult, especially when you go into the final room and all those cameras got their sights down on the floor and they move so slowly that you got a really small window of opportunity to download that piece of information, because if you get caught, the super soldiers will come out, and you lose bonus points for stealth for the rest of the level. When it comes to the bonus points that you get for powers and moves and whatever they have, I don't really care about that stuff. I just want to complete the level moving on to the next one. All leading to that giant robot in that hangar. That was, that's not fun. Don't get in front of that thing, because if you do, it'll fire its cannon at you. Also, when you fight the Green Goblin, that's the hardest thing about this game besides the stealth levels, because the Green Goblin's moves are so unpredictable. Like if you try to jump kick on him, he'll throw you to the ground and jump right on your chest. Tough guy, huh? Letting your thingamajig do your fighting for you?
Common sense, my friend. It's something you could benefit from.
Hey, my rep's sketchy enough without you calling us friends. And on that note, the music in this game. I love Danny Elfman's music for the original 3 Spider-Man movies. But this soundtrack, I think, just might be up there with the best Spider-Man thematic music. Or in this piece of music, when you confront Uncle Ben's killer in the warehouse. And the Green Goblin's musical themes in here too are really chill-inducing, and I would probably have hoped that they would include these in the movie too. As for the plot, it's basically the same as the original movie, although very different, but the anchor points are still there. Peter gets bit by the spider, goes through the wrestling match, lets the thief go, which is all summed up in the opening cutscene, but it's the levels that play out that are very different from the movie, even though the basic elements are still there. And I guess if you wanted to expand on something that the first movie didn't do, like when we see that city montage of everybody talking about him, you could probably guess that he fought some villains like Scorpion or Vulture or Shocker somewhere in the middle. The web swinging in this game is very dated, shooting webs into the sky at nothing. But at the same time though, I can look past that stuff because they hadn't really tried something like this before. Well, they kind of did with the N64 Spider-Man or the PS1 Spider-Man, because it came out on both editions. Spider-Man video games were still in their genesis, so in the next game, he was able to shoot a web onto a nearby building, making it more realistic. So it's all part of the evolution of Spider-Man in video gaming. So in that respect, I can let it slide. The levels change throughout the game, where you're in certain areas of the city, going on rooftop to rooftop, or you're going inside one building, or sometimes you have to do air combat, which air combat in this game is really tough, because you gotta be on top of the villains at every respect, because if you miss them, you'll keep falling down to the ground, and then you gotta climb back up as you're swinging. But probably the hardest level for me, it's the bomb disarmament. The Green Goblin plants all these bombs throughout the downtown area of Manhattan, and you have a certain amount of time to get to each bomb and disarm it. But you have all these HKs that are flying around, and these helicopters with spotlights, and all these other spotlights in the nearby buildings going up and down. I'm assuming they're looking for the Green Goblin. I don't know what's going on there. Playing it recently on normal, I think that was the first time I ever failed or died on that level.
But first, I'm gonna go somewhere quiet and have a heart attack.
In fact, with my job at the post office delivering mail, that's what I say whenever I get through a certain block that's infested with bees, wasps, and hornets. It's one of the few times that I actually appreciate rainy weather. Not to mention that the training levels in this game, in order to improve your skills as far as web swinging, zipping, jumping, dodging, the main tutorial, the trainer of sorts, is none other than Bruce Campbell himself. If Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 4 were to ever happen and they somehow make a video game adaptation of that, it'd be a huge crime against humanity if Bruce Campbell doesn't show up in some capacity.
Trust me, when you're hip-deep in trouble later on, you'll be glad you went through this. All right, now let's get started. Now get the gum out of your ears and listen good.
Spider-Man the movie, the game, I guess if that's the official title, is a really, really fun time. Despite it being dated in some respects, I still get a lot out of it, and I think it's a ton of fun. If you can play it with some historical context and perspective, you just might be able to appreciate it. The second game, just like with the movies, is superior in almost every way, but for what this is, I think it's worth your time. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you, Hector, for joining in on this review. I really had a great time having you on. But also, I have a special announcement for you guys. And I don't know if it's going to get me anywhere, but I also like to announce my first sponsorship from MoviePalette.com. MoviePalette.com consists of movie palettes which are created by a team of artists who carefully choose colors for their canvas paintings. Firstly, the most common color of every scene in the movie is found. Colorful stripes are put on the canvas in chronological order from left to right. The length of each stripe represents the length of a scene in said movie. So they reached out to me and sent me a free copy of a canvas with a certain color palette for each scene in Spider-Man 2. You can see it right there. You can find any canvas representing any movie that you want on this website. I'll put the link in the description for you. Literally every single scene is on this canvas. How crazy is that? The guy who did this, or whoever his team of artists are, they are phenomenal. This canvas is really, really awesome to look at. Thank you, MoviePalette.com, for sending me this product and for sponsoring this video. And if any of you are interested in buying a product, I'll put the link in the description for you, and also I'll put the discount code in for you. That's Joe15. Again, that's Joe15. Thanks again, MoviePalette.com, for sponsoring this. Greatly, greatly appreciated. Those are my thoughts on the Spider-Man video game. What are your guys' thoughts on the game? Like it, love it, think it's alright, or do you hate it? Either way, just comment below and tell me your thoughts, and I'll see you guys in the next one.